Mickey Callaway as the 21st manager of the New York Mets. We're very pleased that Mickey will be with us. He'll have a few remarks in a few minutes, but I thought I'd take just a couple of minutes to talk a little bit about the process by which we reached this decision and brought Mickey to the organization. We started a couple of weeks ago with a very long list in excess of 35 possible candidates. They fit into a variety of different categories. Some were former managers, some were former Mets in one manner or another. Some were familiar to me or other members of the front office. And then there were some who came with a little buzz, but were not really known to us as a front office or had previously had any affiliation and no managerial experience. But before we put that list together, we also set out our criteria for selecting a new manager. And the thing that I want to emphasize is that we weren't simply looking for a manager, we were looking for a leader. And as I think of leadership, I think of really two general requirements. One is professional competence, and the second is personal excellence. With respect to professional competence, we're talking about credibility, and in some sense, experience leads to that credibility. Experience as a player, experience as a coach, experience as a manager. And of course, having done it before suggests greater credibility. But I have to tell you that in our search, while it's important that our new manager be professionally capable, it was more important for us to have someone as a leader who demonstrated personal excellence. And when I get to that category, you know, we're talking about a variety of things, but among them, a hard worker, someone who's collaborative, someone who's structured but adaptable, patient but decisive, and three or four others that I really won't mention. But it was important for us to have someone who was, in our minds, personally excellent. We whittled our list down from 35 or so to 6. Among those 6, we had representatives of really all the categories that I mentioned. We had planned on having a second round of interviews, but ended our first round and decided there was really only one man for the job. So rather than going to a second round, we spent the rest of our time trying to convince Mickey to come to New York. And I have to tell you that he's coming from a great organization. He's had a tremendous partnership with Tito Francona in Cleveland, and we respect that organization tremendously, and I think one of the reasons that we have such confidence in Mickey. So rather than going to a second round, we spent the rest of our time, as I said, trying to convince Mickey to come to New York. And I want to credit Fred Wilpon for finally doing that. Mickey had a 3-hour lunch with Fred in the city, and Mickey came back from that lunch too exhausted to say anything but yes. So it's with great pleasure that I introduce Mickey Callaway as the next manager of the New York Mets, and invite Jeff and Mickey to come up with the uniform presentation, and then we'll hear from Mickey.
You're listening to the press conference right now. They're getting to their photo op as Mickey Callaway is going to put on his jersey right now with Jeff Wilpon. They're taking a second to do that as we speak. He's going to be wearing uniform number 36 for those of you interested in such things. You just heard how they arrived. Adam, the understanding was that Mickey Callaway had blown them away in the interview process. That was what we heard, and that's why he got to be such a hot candidate with them. He's coming to the podium with his jersey on, with a big smile. Here's the new manager of the Mets.
Well, put a lot of jerseys on before. Let's hope I can button it the right way. All right. Well, first and foremost, I'm probably the most excited guy you're going to see in a long time. So thank you for having me. I look forward to getting to know all you guys, and this is certainly an honor and a treat to be up here, going through this process. If you don't mind, I'd like to thank a few people. I think that's always necessary. I'd like to thank Fred Wilpon, Saul Katz, and Jelf Wilpon for the opportunity to sit up here and be selected as the manager for one of the greatest baseball organizations in the world, and with some of the best fans in the world. I've heard the most amazing thing about the fans, and I cannot wait to get started. I'd also like to thank Sandy Alderson, John Ricco, and JP Ricciardi for guiding me through the selection process and the interview. I think right away when he started asking questions to me in this interview, it became clear that we were on the same page and that we wanted the same things. I'm looking for a place where I can step in and work with the best people in the world to do some special things. And that is why I was so excited when I left that interview. What I won't tell him is, they were talking about, well, we had to convince Mickey to come. I called my wife after that interview, and it was on speakerphone, and my two girls were in the back. And after I hung up, one of my daughters said, "Dad was so excited. That was great." Of course, I couldn't go ahead and tell everybody that, but I am the most excited guy in the world right now to be here and to be able to work with these people. I'd love to thank my wife and kids, my mom and dad, my brother and sister for always being there in this pursuit of baseball, which is demanding and wonderful. It's the best game in the world. There's a lot of sacrifices that go with that, and I've sacrificed a lot of time with them, and they've been there for me through every minute of it. So I'd like to thank them. I'd also like to thank the Cleveland Indians, the Dolan family, Chris Antonetti, Mike Chernoff, Terry Francona, and the rest of the coaching staff in Cleveland. I will miss them. They were integral in everything that I stand for, and I took qualities from all those people. I feel like I'd like to thank Derek Falvey, who is now with the Twins, Mark Shapiro and Ross Atkins, who are with the Toronto Blue Jays, John Corwright, who has been a lifelong friend and advisor. And last but not least, I'd like to thank my pitchers in Cleveland. When I was breaking the news to them about this, I was tearing up. I cared so much about them and who they are as people that it was a very difficult decision. And that was probably the hardest part of this whole decision. So thank you to all those people. Okay, well, thanks for allowing me to thank some people. A lot of thanks being said. So here we go, man. I am excited to be the 21st manager of the New York Mets. What a great history this organization has. And I did a little studying up on some of the history, and I already knew that Casey Stengel's number was retired and that he was the first manager ever here. Well, Casey Stengel is a guy that I grew up every day and I heard his name because my brother is named after Casey Stengel. And I was named after Mickey Mantle, so I come from a baseball family. My dad, obviously, and my mom are huge baseball fans. The one thing, a little story about Casey Stengel is when Casey Stengel was playing, he had a bit of a bad, and this is the way it was told around the Ole Miss campus and the baseball people in Ole Miss. Casey Stengel's arm was a little sore for whatever reason going into the season that year, and his high school coach, where he was working out in the off season in his hometown, knew the head coach at Ole Miss, where I went to college. And so he said, "Hey, Casey, why don't you go over there to Ole Miss and help him coach, and you can work out and rehab your arm and see if you can get yourself, more ready for the season than you would have otherwise." So Casey, the old professor, went over to Ole Miss and rehabbed his arm. And I thought that was a pretty neat story since I went to Ole Miss. Coincidentally, I, at one point in my career, had Tommy John surgery. Everybody was, the timing of it, everybody was leaving to go play professional baseball and spring training, and I needed people to throw with. So I reached out, looked on the internet for a pitching coach job somewhere at a college to insert myself in practice, maybe help some people out, and I ended up finding a head coaching job at a little small D3 school down in the bottom of Texas. And I thought that was a pretty cool story because it sounded like Casey did the same kind of thing. So that was really neat. I'm so excited to get to know the players. I'm going to leave here probably tonight. I'll start really reaching out to those guys. A few of them have already reached out to me. A couple of them got in touch with me yesterday. I had a great phone call with David Wright, and there was a natural connection there. And his views on leadership and what he does for this team are very similar, and we're going to be able to collaborate very, very well. And obviously having him around is going to be someone I can really lean on to help this whole process that we're going to have. Excuse me. So what can the players expect? We're going to care more about the players than anyone ever has before. And we're going to know that they're human beings and individuals. And this is going to be a group that feels that every day we come to the clubhouse. And that's going to be our main concern, is to show them that we know this game is difficult and we care about you as a player, a human being, and about your personal life. We're going to value their work. We're going to value the way they collaborate and communicate, and we're going to value their dedication.
You're listening to Mickey Callaway, the new manager of the Mets, here on the Fan, Sports Radio 66.
We know that they are human beings, and their numbers or stats are going to be a byproduct of how durable, prepared, and aggressive they are, and that's it. We're not going to have expectations on numbers. I'm going to have expectations that they're going to work the right way to go put up numbers. And if that happens, great. If not, I'm going to be happy that they worked as hard as they could and did everything they can to go out there and succeed. We will also ask them to do more than anybody ever has before. Okay, our group is going to become a team because of our losses, our mistakes, the little rifts we have in the clubhouse. They're going to know that those things are okay as long as we are trying to get better and learn from those things. We're going to use all of those things to strengthen our bond as a group and to become the team that we want to be. And in the end, if we can do that, we're going to be the strongest team we possibly can, and that's going to allow us to do exactly what we want on the field and not have the pressure of those expectations. I am so ready to get out of here and get this done so I can start talking to the players and we can start all the things that we have on our to-do list. It's an amazing feeling right now. I'm so honored and flattered that I get this opportunity, and I am looking forward to the best fans in the world and showing them every day that we care and we know that we wouldn't have jobs without the fans. And we're going to spend a lot of time showing that appreciation to them as we move along. So thank you for everything, and I'm excited to be here. I'm elated.
Thank you very much. At this time, we'll open it up for questions and answers for both Mickey and Sandy. We ask you please state your name and affiliation so Mickey can get to know some members in the room.
Mickey, Sandy, Steve Gelbs, right here, SNY. Mickey, congratulations. Welcome to New York. Sandy, this is for you, though. You mentioned that you had originally planned to have a second round of interviews, and clearly Mickey blew you away with that first interview. What specifically stood out to you to the point where you felt comfortable making him the guy that quickly?
Well, I think that there were a couple of things. One, sort of intellectual, if you will. There seemed to be a real consistency between Mickey's approach and our approach, and what he was looking for in the way of managing, and we were looking for in the way of a leader in the clubhouse. There was definitely that. But more emotionally, I think we came out of, all of us in that meeting came out of it excited about the possibility that Mickey would be our manager. And that's a visceral reaction. It's not one that, you can put down on a checklist, but to me that said everything, and I think it was consistent throughout the group.
Mickey, Josh Lewin, Mets Radio. Great to see you again.
Good to see you.
And welcome.
Thank you.
At what point for you in your travels, in your process, did you think manager, whether it be a minor league manager, major league manager, at what point did that light come on for you that this is what you wanted to do?
Probably when I was rehabbing my arm and took over that team in Laredo, Texas. I think that right away, just leading that group of young people, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And quite frankly, it was kind of hard. And I think I got to play for a half season after I did that. And quite frankly, it was hard to really concentrate on playing after that feeling. And I was ready to start coaching. And, if I really thought hard and long about it, that would have been the spot. All along, I've kind of had a plan that I want, and pitching coach was first. Manager would have been second, and someday I'd love to, be where Sandy is at some point, way in the future. But yeah, I think it's something I've thought about all along.
Hey, Mickey, Pete McCarthy, WOR. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What is it about this particular job, this group, that you thought this was the right challenge for you and the right time to become a big league manager?
Well, first, we're in the greatest city in the world. This is one of the greatest franchises in the world. So that right away enticed me when I heard that, when Sandy called me and said, hey, we want to interview you. I think second, when I sat in the room and listened to the words that Sandy, JP, and John, and Jeff were saying to me, and the questions they were asking me, I knew right then that we were going to be in alignment in what we wanted. And that's why I was so excited when I called my family after. So the team itself, the pitching is something that can be some of the greatest, guys on the planet. So that obviously is very exciting to me. I think that our position players are also in that same category. When I look at the New York Mets, I see a team that can contend and compete with anybody. And that's what we'll work hard to do.
Mickey, Bruce Beck, WNBC TV.
How you doing?
How do you balance being liked as a manager and being respected, and how do you build the harmony in the clubhouse?
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily set out for guys to like you. You show them every day that you care about them, and we will care about them. It won't just be an act. We're going to, spend time with these guys every day in the clubhouse, and I'm going to love every one of them. And I'm going to show them day in and day out by the decisions I make, the way I communicate with them, that I truly, truly care about them. So, if I can do those things, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be hard and long hours, and it's going to be tons and tons of communication. If I can do that consistently and do all the things that we talked about in my interview, then I don't have to wonder if people like me. They're going to like me and respect me.
Mickey, hi, how are you? Andy Adler, Pix 11 News. Welcome to New York. You mentioned you're anxious to get going and get things going. What is your first move as Mets manager?
I'm going to reach out to the players. I think they deserve. I know they got the news, obviously, from some other source than myself, but I'm going to reach out to them, let them know how excited I am, and we're going to start this very, very, very important offseason for this 2018 season. This next 3 months are going to be critical to what we are trying to do during the season, and we're going to get to work right away.
Rich Catino, ESPN Radio. Welcome to New York. Two things resonate on your resume. One is how pitchers got better year after year under you, and the second is sitting near Terry Francona every single waking moment. Can you talk about those two things and what kind of a professional that's made you become?
Well, I mean, just being around Tito, all those things that we talk about, he does on a daily basis. And just being around him and seeing what it takes to be a really good manager, obviously, it prepares me for whatever I have to do. He's the best out there, bar none. I've been around some of the best in the game, and he's the best. And he truly cares about everyone, and he is prepared. He prepares his players. He empowers his staff to do their jobs. And I couldn't have been under anybody better to prepare me for this job here in New York City. I don't know if you guys have been around Tito or asked him questions, but he's the best there is at, knowing what the media needs. And he respects y'all's job and that y'all are trying to do your job every single day. And he's relaxed and gives you guys the answers, and I will do the same thing.
Hi, Christy Ackert, New York Daily News. For both of you, Sandy and Mickey, I would assume pitching coach is going to be high on your priority list. How will that be handled since Mickey has so much experience in that area, Sandy?
Well, one of the things that we're going to do over the next few days is put together a list of potential pitching coaches. We already have a partial list. We want to make sure that it's as inclusive as possible. But I think that Mickey and the front office will work collaboratively to find someone that he's comfortable with. I think it's important to recognize, yes, that Mickey's a former pitching coach, and it's important for us because that's our strength. But at the same time, Mickey will be focused entirely on the 25-man roster, and so the pitching coach will be very important. But again, in looking for a pitching coach, we're looking for somebody who's professionally expert and at the same time fits in with the sort of collaborative approach that we're expecting to build here.
Hi, Mickey. Tom Arian with AP Radio. Next season, what do you see as your biggest challenge on the field for the team?
Right now, I haven't really been able to sit down and talk to everyone that needs to be talked to. Looking from the other side of the field, that would be a mistake to comment on that. So I think we all need to sit down and figure out the things that needs to be addressed, because we're going to address a lot of those things this winter.
Hey, Mickey Beck here, Kevin Marr from News 12 Long Island. This is a team that's had pitchers racked with injuries in your professional career. What's the key to getting pitchers to believe in themselves again when things have gone so much against them?
Well, treat them as individuals. I think that anybody can help people as long as you're, treating them individually. And we can do a lot of things to, help some of the things that went wrong. And we're going to make sure that everybody knows the plan and the process that it's going to take for them to get better and get healthy so they can go out there and use the talent that they have.
Thank you very much. That concludes the formal portion of today's press conference.
All right, so there you have it. If it was a little bit, let's hold hands in a circle, I can understand that. It was a little too cheery. I admit that, and a little too, we're going to love everybody. You know what? It's the first one. Let him have his. That's his way. I mean, that'll change in New York in a hurry. I mean, it will. I mean, there was a lot of questions I didn't get. Number one, who's picking the staff? I want to always know that. The Mets still won't, I don't think, let him come on the air with us because they don't let anybody on our show, not on the station, since they left the station. So I'll try to get him on. Put in a request for the manager. We'll see what happens. We know what the answer is going to be. We'll put it in anyway. I got a lot of questions. Who's picking the staff? Are they picking the staff? Is he picking the staff? I've already given you my thoughts on that subject, number one. Number two, somebody just broached the injuries a little bit. I mean, you got a staff racked with injuries, absolutely racked with injuries. And his first thing is talking about David Wright. I mean, David Wright, the guy hasn't played in years. I mean, it's nice that David Wright is, calling him, but I mean, what's David Wright's role, if any? I mean, he hasn't been a factor on the field in years. So, I mean, I don't know what that does for them. There's a lot of questions there that have to be answered. He's been a very successful pitching coach. He is with the best manager, I think, in the sport. But that doesn't mean he's going to be the best manager in the sport because Tito is. But we'll see where that takes us. Who knows? Everyone with the cynical jokes, he had the right answer for the Mets. Yeah, that he'd work cheap. I mean, we heard that. All the stuff. There's a million lines in there. We understand that. But listen, for them, it's a new day. They picked a guy. I got a lot of questions that I didn't get answered. I would have been specific about. The Met clubhouse has been considered notoriously bad. One player who left it this year, who I will not name, said it's the worst clubhouse he ever stepped in his life. So they got a lot of work to do there. And a lot of the blame gets put on Cespedes, and I don't know that it's all him. And maybe he doesn't deserve all the blame. He does get a lot of the blame from people. I don't know, what has to change and not change. We'll see. But they have a lot of work to do with that team. They got a lot of work to do with guys like Cespedes and Harvey and guys like that. So, I mean, it's not an easy team to take over. We'll see what kind of staff they put together. Do they put together a professional staff? You can tell right away by a guy with his staff. If a guy like Callaway puts a lot of guys, some guys are threatened by major leaguers and won't put successful major leaguers on their staff. And some guys will only put guys who are minor leaguers on their staff or career guys. They won't put guys who have big resumes on their staff. Some guys aren't afraid of that. Some guys are. Let's see how he plays it. Some guys are like that. They don't like guys who have big resumes and put them on their staff. I really think that the Mets haven't used a guy like Johnny Franco. I think Johnny Franco could help the Mets in a lot of ways. I really do. I think he's a good baseball guy. I've always thought he was a good baseball guy. But whether or not he'd feel threatened by having a Johnny Franco on his staff, who knows? I mean, someone like that would interest me. I don't know if he'd interest the Mets. I really don't know. And I don't know how much input the guys like the Aldersons or the Wilpons are going to want in their staff. I would, if I'm the manager, I would demand that the staff is mine, but I don't know that he can get that. Sounded like if Callaway played his cards right, he had some leverage. He didn't realize he had so much leverage, but he had some leverage because they really wanted him. And I don't know if there are any other jobs. There were rumors that the Mets were interested in Cora, but once the Red Sox dug in, you knew that he was going to the Red Sox. The Red Sox is a dream job. You're going to take the Red Sox is like taking the Yankee job. It's a dream job. You take it when it's available. You take it. It's one of the great jobs in baseball. That's all there is to it. I mean, it's the Red Sox. So I mean, there are very few jobs like that. So you take that job. We'll see. I mean, I understand if you're still have some question marks. We didn't get very specific about anything player-wise. Maybe that's fair right now. He sure didn't lay the law down. I mean, that's for sure. I mean, it wasn't like he had a bunch of rules. Wasn't like it was, we're going to, work harder. We're going to get in better shape. You didn't hear anything like that. All you heard is, we're going to treat them like individuals and we're going to love everybody. All right. Now, it may turn out that maybe he is hard on players. Maybe he does have maybe his hard work makes him work hard. I don't know. We're going to wait and see. We'll see. The proof will be in the pudding, as they say. So who knows? But so Mickey Callaway named the 21st manager of the franchise. We didn't get anything about any staff today. So that, we didn't get anything about his contract length. We didn't get anything about staff today. So there's still a lot of things up in the air as the Mets name the former Cleveland pitching coach whose Indian staff has been excellent the last couple of years and really has done he clearly has done a very good job with that pitching staff. Now he's a manager, and he's got a lot more than just the pitchers to worry about, but the pitching staff's a good place to start. Eli Manning will join us at 5. Your calls on the Met manager right